Hi there, YouTube. This is the Magnus bringing you another Total War Warhammer online ladder battle. This one we're taking a look at Ondjage playing as the Empire. He's currently ranked number 5 at the time recording this, and ranked number 8 Saint Antonio playing as Britannia. So let's go ahead and take a look at their builds and deployment. Ondjage goes with a main line of 4 swordsmen, flanked by the Tattersouls on one side, Sigmar Sons on the other, with Flagellants in reserve on the flanks, guessing for flanking maneuvers, primarily. He also has the Royal Altdorf Griffites and Demigriff Knights with halberds. He has 1 spearman unit. He has 3 mortars deployed up front. 1 light wizard with only the net as their only spell, Sterling's Revenge, and a General of the Empire. Now going across the field, take a look at San Antonio's Britannia. It looks like he has spearmen at shields with shields times 7, so not a tournament legal build at this point. Maybe it was then. I'm not sure when this was recorded. 5 peasant bowmen. He has 3 paladins, 2 Pegasus Knights, and a Lord on a Flying Monster. Now, what's interesting about this is that he brings this big flying corps expecting a fight in the air with the Empire, which is usually what happens. But as you'll notice, Ondjage breaks the mold and doesn't bring any air units at all. So let's go ahead and take a look and see how that works out for each player here. So it starts off a little slow. Ondjage is trying to get his cannons in range and keep his army with them, and San Antonio is going to keep backing off with his army to try to avoid that for as long as possible, and in the meantime start to deploy his air units around each flank, which is not an uncommon or bad strategy at all for the time being. It looks like Ondjage is going to keep everybody pretty close together. The mortars are going to start to fire. Now, generally, in my experience, mortars are pretty inaccurate, but he gets some great shots off with these things, and you'll see that as the battle develops. So the flying units start to creep in on Ondjage's main line, while Britannia's main body is pushing forward now. And, 3 mortars versus no artillery, you need to get your butt and move it in there. But look at these hits, just phenomenal hits on pretty small target. The Britannians form a very thin, tight line. Now you see the flyers starting to gather to the rear of Ondjage, and he's going to start to push forward with his infantry forces to meet his opponent. Now, I'm not sure if he does that to bait these guys in, but it works. So the 1 Pegasus Knight comes in, the Sterling's Revenge. He immediately reacts with the Demigriff Knights, which are going to absolutely tear apart these Pegasus Knights. A Paladin comes down, and yet another Pegasus Knight is brought in, and Ondjage is going to respond with Flagellants and the Royal Altdorf Griffites. Now let's take a look at it from this angle. You can see that the infantry lines are about to engage. And you can see, boom, that's going to knock out one of the Pegasus Knights. It's going to retreat. Another Paladin comes in. Another charge comes from the Royal Altdorf Griffites. And the Griffites are going to smash this Pegasus Knight and chase it off the field. So Pegasus Knights, they're very flimsy. And down comes a net, so now his flying corps is trapped here. So you give him a chance to extract Sterling's Revenge and get some shots off. But as I was saying about the Pegasus Knights, they have a very good charge and a non-answerable charge for any land units, right? Because they're going to get the charge, but the other units not. But they do not have staying power. You want to use them on weaker units, get that charge off, and then get the heck out of there. And of course, they're also good for adding to your overall air force for the sake of winning an air battle. But there was no contention made here. So it looks like one of the swordsmen is going to retreat. The mortars are firing at the peasant bowmen with pretty good effect, but right now looks like a mixed bag on the front line here as far as who's winning and losing. The mortar continues to fire. Back here we see a paladin breaking It looks like there's still a paladin that's trying to fight, but he's getting shot to heck him back. And of course, the Lord's okay. So looks like a very good exchange for Ondjage back here. It causes the balance of power to shift in his favor pretty considerably. And the mortars are really doing a number on retreating troops and on the peasant bowmen of San Antonio. In comes his Lord. Good choice to bring him in to try to boost things up, but I wouldn't necessarily go for Sigmar's Sons. I probably would have went for the swordsman next door. Not that Antonio's not a better player than me, but what I would have liked about this is you have a chance to rout these guys, whereas Sigmar's Sons, which are much more potent, but they're never going to run, so you don't have the opportunity to create an early advantage infantry-wise. So you're going to see most of the infantry on both sides at this point is retreated, but after having won the air war, now Ondjage has several units he can push forward, including these flagellants, his two very powerful cav units, and without any semblance of a line, cav is going to be pretty darn effective. He puts down a net to catch the Lord on the ground, and he's going to beat on him with his general, a swordsman, and both of his cav, which is going to absolutely crush the Bretonnian Lord, and is going to end in a close victory for Ondjage's empire. So let's take a look at the tail of the tape first. The swordsmen did very well for their cost. Flagellants, except for this one, which was the one that hung back, so I didn't really see any action. But this one did well. Sigmar's Sons, you know, considering they took that huge rear charge, not too bad. The Tattersouls did well. Sterling's Revenge doesn't show up in kills, but it shot a lot of high-value targets, so I'm fine with that. The same thing with the Altdorf Griffites and the Demigriffs. The mortars did it exceedingly well against the Bretonnian forces. Taking a look at Bretonnia, I'd say their infantry line did fine. Their peasant bowmen did fine. Where they didn't get their value was from their giant flying squad, including the Pegasus Knights. Looks like this one did pretty well. I don't know what against, though. So, you know, that's kind of questionable. But, you know, overall, an underperform here. And it really comes down to Ondjage, I believe, having a very good build for countering what his opponent brought. And, of course, just some great play. You know, baiting him in to attack the mortars and to attack his Sterling's Revenge, and then making him pay for it almost immediately. So a very clever tactical battle on Ondjage's part, and definitely a good game on Saint Antonio's part, no slouch. So if you enjoyed the battle, please hit like, please hit subscribe, or if you learned something, which is even better. Until the next time, this is the Magnus, and I'll see you on the ladder.